I try to savor this energy as much as I can for when they're not as abundant. But I'm good, dude. Which is like one of the things that I picked up is just making sure you're, putting away money, saving your energy for when the gravy train's not knocking at your door. You know what I mean?
If you listen to old school Jay-Z, like you
Yeah.
just get like all the things that you need to know. He's like, he talks about, he's like, I know the game got valleys and peaks, expectation for dips, so for precipitation, we stack chips. What's up, everybody? We're back with another episode of Scale Your Sales Podcast. And for this episode, I am joined by Dan Pat. For those of you guys who don't know, Dan is someone who came into the space a long time ago through coaching sales. We placed him on an opportunity. He did really well, and he ended up selling on our internal sales team for a while. And he's gone on and continued to work on other projects and just has earned a really good reputation in the space and has been able to accomplish a lot as a remote sales pro. So I'm really excited to kind of have him highlight some of his journeys and some of his discoveries for you guys. So what up, Dan? How are you, brother?
What's going on, brother? I'm doing good, man. I can't complain. It's you're lucky. I still got my voice today. I've been on calls like nonstop for the last 48 hours, it seems like.
You closing deals?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's going good. I can't complain. Obviously, I try to savor this energy as much as I can for when they're not as abundant. But I'm good, dude. Which is also something I'd be happy to mention. Like, as far as like one of the things that I picked up is just making sure you're, putting away money, saving your energy for when the gravy train's not knocking at your door. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like if you listen to old school Jay-Z, like you just get like all the things that you need to know. He's like, he talks about, he's like, I know the game got valleys and peaks, expectation for dips, so for precipitation, we stack chips. And it's like, you got to do it. Like, you just got to know, like, the game's got valleys and peaks. Like, you got to set it aside, because you might go cold for a month, or something might hit where, the ads are going fucking wonky and whatnot. So how many offers are you on right now?
I'm on 2. I was on 3. I just let the number 3 go just because I don't know. I wanted what was best for him. And so I decided to part ways. And, honestly, it's just business, dude. If I've got 2 people that are monetizing my time the way that I need it to be monetized, then that's where I'm going to go. One of them is super, super low. I mean, you remember Joe, I've been on that offer for years. It's still tried and true, man. Old faithful. But I've got a main jam as well. I'm selling a biz op offer. It's great, dude. I love it.
Yeah, it's fun. So like at your peak, what was the most you've ever, like, offer wise? How many offers have you been on?
3. I've been on 3 with like the prospect of being on 4, which I don't recommend. It's all for the purpose of uncertainty. It just kind of depends. But for a very short time, I was on 3 going strong. And I had a guy want me to come full time for him to manage his in-event sales. It was kind of a weekend thing, but I let it go. So 3 was the most I've ever had. And like I said, I don't know that I recommend it to anybody. You just need to kind of play it by ear, make sure that you're secure, if that makes sense.
What's your ideal? Like 1, 2, or what?
I'd say honestly 2.
You like 2?
I like 2 because, and on the one hand, you've got to be loyal to your people. Like, you've got to be able to, like, the company owner knows, especially people that are spending thousands and thousands of dollars on leads. And if they're able to provide an ecosystem to you where the leads are inbound, like, I don't take that lightly. But at the same time, as someone who doesn't get paid just for getting out of bed in the morning, it really helps the job security if you have 2. And in a perfect situation, if you have 1 main jam and then another offer that just has a much lower volume, that way you can just kind of drum up business while the main channel is just, maybe going wonky. Maybe they're playing with their offer. Maybe they're, playing with new ad strategy and stuff like that. But for me, it's really cush, dude, because the one offer I have is just, it's like really strong. And And then the secondary offer is really, really high ticket. It's like 30 grand, but I only have like 1 or 2 phone calls per week. So it's awesome.
Oh, I see. That's a nice balance, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a super nice balance. I've always liked more when like I like just one. I like to
Yeah.
sell the shit out of one thing and just focus
Yeah.
on one offer. But I definitely do think like in the early days as a sales rep, it does make sense to have like a few lines in the water
Yeah.
to just see like which one hits, because you might take off on an offer, you might not resonate with an offer, or like there's a lot of things that can happen. So like
Yeah.
in the early days, it makes sense to have a few different lines in the water. And then once you see one that's catching, you then just like,
Yeah.
for me, I just hated all the admin part
Yeah.
of multiple companies, right? Like
Yeah.
having to log into different CRMs multiple times a day, and then like
Yeah.
log out of the CRM to log into the other person's like that shit, dude, just would
Yeah.
drive me nuts. And I'd be sitting
Yeah.
there and like I'd be like thinking about how much time I was wasting doing it.
Yeah.
And it's the part of the job that I hate, right?
Yeah.
Like the part of the job that I like is the just talking to people, right? Like, and
Yeah.
like, here's your problem, helping them see a new solution. That's part that's fun. The
Yeah.
part that sucks is the fact that I have to keep all the spreadsheets and the tracking and all this stuff. And like,
Yeah.
I do it because obviously I love results and I want to perform. So
Yeah.
I know it gives me an edge in my performance. So I'm willing to do it. But to do it where I have to pay double that overhead, I always hated that. That was my kind of experience in it.
I agree with you on that, actually, especially now that you mentioned like the admin stuff. I'm fortunate in that because my secondary offer is so low volume, I don't have to spend a lot of time in that organization where I'm not making money.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I think of it as like, it's like green time and red time. Green time for me is like the time I'm spending on the phones. And then the yellow time is the time I'm spending like following up, like closing deals in my hot 7, which is something that you taught me. Thanks, by the way. And
That
then
makes me
red
a lot of
time.
money, doesn't it? The thing
Oh,
is,
hell yeah. I love
it's
it.
a lot
I
of
love it.
work.
And then
And
red time is the time that I spend on meetings, and it's just like, okay, I want to minimize the red time, maximize the green time. And then, yellow just falls in between. But yeah, dude, I found my cadence. So if anybody's listening to this and they're just like, see, I told you, I'm going to tell my recruiter I need 2 offers, like
right, yeah,
not so fast. Like you got to make sure you got to make sure the ecosystem's right. But dude, I could feel I'd be safe to go in on my one offer, but that second offer is just so cush. And I know it so well. And, a 4-figure commission per close is pretty nice. So I'm just not going to let it go.
yeah. One of the things I think it's like interesting about highlighting your second offer and like mentioning it is that, and this goes for the reps that are listening, especially as well for the business owners, but like especially for you guys that are looking to be reps. On your second offer, the thing is that it's not like a high growth organization, right? Like that they're not driving like to triple revenue or go from like $1 million a year to $1 million a month, right? So it's very much so like a stable, healthy, profitable lifestyle business that kind of like gives the founder everything that he wants out of that business and doesn't have the let's scale it to the moon energy. So that makes it super easy to have that when you guys have a lot of trust and like a built up relationship over time. So he can just know, all right, I'll feed him the calls and he'll close them and everyone's going to win. And it's in his case, he's optimizing for lifestyle. So he wants low meetings, low management overhead for you as a rep. So it ends up working out well.
Yeah, he's good. He's happy. He's got a nice house in the upper scale part of New Jersey, pool in the backyard, guest house. Like he's right around $100,000 a month, and that's cool for him. And I'm like Jason Bourne, like I kind of do my thing. And I doubt you ever even noticed I had a second offer when I was heading sales for you. It's just, and that's kind of the way I like it. I want to be able to have my main jam and then the secondary, just like you said.
Yeah, that makes sense. I saw a post on the internet today, and I actually want to get your opinion on this. So I saw a rep online. So I'll give credit where credit's due. It's this rep named Michael Dunleavy, right? And So, but his post, I thought it was interesting, and I'd love your perspective. He said, so who decided daily sales team huddles, unpaid, mind you, all 30 minutes of them? In my experience, 90% of the time, of little actual value to the professional salesperson, were a necessary and sometimes mandated part of being on an offer. Pleased I negotiated out of that or chose roles without that a long time ago. I wonder if the salesperson accepted those 5-time sessions per week in return for their hourly rate, being invoiced back to the offer owner or sales manager, if they'd still be a daily thing. What's your take there? What's your perspective?
I think it depends. First of all, like, I think that business owners need to do a better job of really illustrating expectations up front. Like, hey, you will be expected to do this. Once it would piss me off if they're just like, hey, we're going to do this. Yeah, we'll have the team meetings. And then they have these huddles like multiple times throughout the day and blah, 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 especially when the rep has zero throughput on the call. They're just there for the sake of continuity. Absolute waste of time. And in that sense, I wholeheartedly agree. I think having team meetings for the sense of continuity is complete bullshit. That said, if my opinions are valued, and if I have a say in the internal workings, and if I have a say in the buyer journey, then yes, I'm happy to show up. And with Paul, my main channel, like, that's the case, dude. They engage with me almost every day. They value my opinion, and so like I want to show up.
Yeah.
But if I were just showing up, and then he were just like, talking to setters and talking to all these other people, and like I didn't have a portion in the meeting, it'd be like, bro, like I would much rather be out on a walk at the gym, getting in my steps, working on my energy and my flow, or taking calls for you and monetizing my time. And I think as long as there's like that agreement, you're good. But some people just have so many meetings, and but as a rep, I think at the same time, so like I also want to say this: reps need to understand that, running a business is hard. And like you, Mike, you do a really, really good job. Like I remember when I was working for you, and like when things would get hairy, like we're testing new offers and you're spending all this money, you did a really good job of like keeping your composure, which is good. As a leader, people need to see you have fucking ice water in your veins. But I also understood that you might not be sleeping as comfortably as you'd want to be. And like, I understood. And so for that, like, I'm happy to step up. And so like the complete, like the 100%, not my circuit, not my monkey, not my circus, that's, all right. But you got to understand, it's hard running a business. And sometimes business owners go into panic mode, and their way of addressing that is putting a magnifying glass on every single different process. And sometimes that's going to equate to having more meetings. And you need to, and the reps need to be thankful. We need to be gracious, like to God, the universe, whatever the hell you want to do, but also to the person providing that opportunity to you. Because some people dig ditches or stock shelves at fucking Amazon, and they make as much money in a month as you make in a couple of days. So just be careful around that. And I think that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, it's super interesting. It's good perspective. My first like instinct, I read that, and then like obviously, for me, it's like something I have very strong opinions on and stuff. And I've been on both sides of the equation. So like I really do see both sides. Yeah. And for me, like the immediate thought was like, yeah, that's someone who's never spent a dime of their own money on ads.
Yeah.
That was literally my first fucking thought. It's like, yeah, dude, you drop $1,000 a day and go a fucking week without hearing about what's happening and see how it works out for you. Cause that shit ain't gonna work, man. Like this is not how this game rolls. Like 5 calls a day, $200 a call. I'm not going to talk to you for a fucking week.
Yeah.
Get out of here, dude. Like I can't have a problem that could be resolved in 5 seconds of chatter I
Yeah.
can't have that problem lasting for 7
Yeah.
days. Because
Yeah.
if that problem lasts for 7 days, it's not only that I dropped 7 grand in ad spend, it's, let's say I'm running at 8 to 1 on it. It
Yeah.
costs me $50,000 in revenue on the flip side. Like, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's just when I read it, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's someone who's never put a dime into ads. Uh,
Yeah.
and that's like
Yeah.
immediately my sense. I have been reworking some of my thoughts on some of this stuff because
Yeah.
like I don't know, you like yeah, a lot of what I've been working on quietly over this past year, and now I'm like coming out more with it and stuff. But I've been reworking some thoughts, and I do see the case where daily huddles don't need to be daily, and so I do think if you're early in the ramp, it needs to be daily because that's when the
Mhm.
most shit can go wrong.
Yeah.
And then what I see is when reps are kind of more mature, like they're in KPI, they don't, I daily doesn't need to be happening. Like it, like 2 to 3 times a week is oftentimes enough of a touch
Yeah.
point. And so I have definitely started to modify some thoughts there, but I feel like for, well, I would err like when I'm training a business owner how to do this stuff, I
Yeah.
would err to the side of daily because business owners themselves are going to not do it.
Yeah.
Like left to their own devices, they're going to not do that shit.
Yeah.
And if it's they're ramping their first time ramping reps, they have new reps, like
Yeah.
you make one big fuck up and it is like you can really fuck up bad when
Yeah.
you fuck this stuff up.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's
also a
a,
spectrum. It's a spectrum. Like if you're in DEF CON 5, like I'm like, I get it. Like, but honestly, I don't mind doing daily meetings. I've done it long enough, dude. Like, again, it's like I want to be there. I want to be there and like a part of the structure, dude. Even when you were having, when I was heading sales for you, like we would have to come correct with things prepared. There was tangible things that I had to have ready for you that, because I had eyes and ears on bottom of funnel, and I was intimately more familiar than what those calls looked like than you did. And so I got it. Like I needed to do that. But if I was just sitting there quiet, just like, oh God, come on, let this thing be fucking over. That's different. But I agree.
yeah,
I think it just depends, man. I'm on daily now, and it is what it is. It gets me out of the bed in the morning. You know what I mean?
yeah. One of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is just like or so I think a lot about like organizational design, obviously, just because it's
Mhm.
like how do you design sales teams to create the most performance? How do you design the team and company structure to create the most performance? And I think a lot about organizational design types of questions. And what one thing I've been kind of like really interestingly going back and forth on is like the case for cross-functional teams, like sometimes I'm finding like a small team of like 3 really full stack people is better than a team of a big specialized team, right? So like this person does sales, this person does client success, this person does marketing. Sometimes I'm finding like a small cross-functional team where everybody can kind of play all roles, and but they pick like everybody's got their dominant trait and they kind of stick to it. Like I'm
Yeah.
seeing like those teams can outperform uh a lot like the specialized
Yeah.
teams.
What do you see a closer, like what is like in light of what you just said, what are some things that a closer could do in addition to closing, that's as far as like cross throughput?
Yeah, well, I think if anyone's a closer and they're not writing copy, like they're fucking up big time. Like
Okay.
if you're a closer and you're not writing copy, that's just like literally retarded. Because the thing is that when you're a closer, you're literally right there at the tip of the spear. So
Yeah.
you hear what the market's saying, and you have the best like feedback loop and ideation for copy that will convert. So whenever I was like closing, I would like to write copy to stick in the email autoresponders or on ads and stuff like that. So that in like obviously you have to know a little bit about ad compliance, like what's compliant, what's not compliant, so you could write the right ads. But I found that like because like sometimes on calls people will say something that is just like it like today it came up on a coaching call. Like I heard a rep say like Mike, I used to have on my vision board this calendar that was like 5 days a week, packed solid of calls. And I would just visualize myself taking all those calls. And he's like, now I can say that's my reality.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, dude, that is like copywriting gold right there. Right. Like, does your dream calendar look like this? Like, or attention potential closers, does your dream calendar look like this? Right.
Yeah.
So like, that is like, oh, dude, he gave me like gold for advertising. And when you are a closer, it gives you really strong advertising. The other thing that I think I've been thinking a lot about, and like, I think a lot of people think, and they can see how marketing and sales have a lot of overlap, but a lot of people don't see how product in sales or product and marketing have overlap. But what I've noticed is like small redesigns in the actual like product can lead to new claims or promises or guarantees or things that then make your offers hit harder. So like for example, if they add like a database reactivation module in the first week or something, then they can monetize the people faster, and as a result, then boom, now people get more results, like stuff like that. So then because I can do that, then I can come back into my promise and make my promise like hit harder and just be like way meaner as a result. And so like there's that overlap too, of like, when you're building the product based on what you're hearing in the market, it helps you a little bit because you're picking up the noise off the phone to know what the market's saying, what they're comparing, what they like about other products, what they like about your product, how to make that like double that down while neutralizing competitor strengths. So you hear all those whispers, then you see what's working in the ads, and you can kind of take that and you figure out, how can I get my product or my promise even stronger, bigger, faster, right? More reliable, stuff like that. And like, to play with that.
You know what's really interesting is it's so awesome that you just said that, because like sometimes you have to, like when you're listening to the market, and you said specifically like when you hear the market say things about your competition as far as their promises, dealing with your competition's unrealistic promises is such a strange, it's a strange thing to combat. Because like, how are you, like if someone says, well, Bob is going to promise me X, Y, and Z, and it's going to be done for you, and I don't have to do that, and he's $10,000 cheaper, so why would I do that with you? And so it's like, you have to tell them Santa Claus isn't real.
Yeah. Telling people Santa
without
Claus
discouraging them and making yourself look like a G at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Which I haven't had to do that in a minute, but I dealt a lot of that when I was on with coaching sales, because people would be like, well, so-and-so is going to do this, and it's pretty much turnkey. And it's just like, you believe it? You believe that? That's cool, man. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it does not work that way. It's people thinking they're gonna get a Rolls Royce for $100. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, let's see here. You were making comments about my crispy video before we were on air, and then they were having crispy video issues. Yeah.
It's looking pretty foggy. I think
this is not crispy video at all.
Yeah, I think we had some storms just roll into your
right
workspace there.
See if we get this thing fixed. If not, I got backup maneuvers we can do, so we're straight. So I got this you know the A10 Mini, you know what that is?
Is that a module of
Like a video
switchboard?
switchboard. No, it's like a video switchboard.
Oh yeah.
You're pretty cool, actually. It's pretty sweet. So I got that thing, and this thing overheats every now and then. I used to use the Cam Link before that, and then I switched over to this. But I've caught it overheats every now and then, which is the little bit of annoying. I haven't figured it out yet in terms of how to fix it. But hold on. Um, it should be fine. All right, hold on. Let's see.
All this fire on the podcast.
Sweet.
There
All
we
right,
go.
there we go. We're back. Yeah, man, it's interesting when you're dealing with like competitors making all these outrageous claims and stuff. It's weird. Like it's easy to want to get caught up in it, you know, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it always catches up to them. I mean, like you look at like Kevin David, dude, like that's like like that all those promises were too big and like everything was like too I was like, nah, I don't know about this guy. It's not making a lot of sense, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I mean, I think like a lot of the same people, like, you know, a lot of people who are coming into remote sales, like did come off of that same shit. You know what I mean? It's like they've been promised that they're going to make 30 grand a month inside of 60 days and they're going to be a high ticket closer with nothing but quality leads and whatnot, but they don't have any sales experience. They just went through a certification program. They think they're not going to have to start as appointment setters. They think like all this stuff. And it's like,
Yeah.
you know, they just were sold smoke, and like it's because that promise sold to a certain person that believes it.
Yeah.
But it's I there's still always space for the good guys. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there's
For sure.
always because what happens is it's like Louis C.K. has this bit where he talks about like it's like I just want to like create an ad for like dumpy 40-year-old guys that like it gets better. Right. He's like after she falls down the tree and hits every branch and on the way down, she's like, you'll be there and she can hang on to you because you've been reliable. And like it's like so funny, but like sometimes like that's like when you are making a real promise, like you get that. Like you're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, like you've been abused by these shitheads and
Yeah.
like I'll be here to catch you. Like
Yeah.
ultimately, after they get kind of like turned through the turn and burn, they
Yeah.
learn to start to ask people for referrals. The market has its whispers. You learn to hear what the whispers are, and then you just like you know who's the real deal and who's not at the end of the day. And also now you know what a real promise is. Like so when you come into a space, you don't even know what a real promise is because you just don't even know what's
Yeah.
possible or not possible. So
Yeah. Dude, and I had this moment in my career, like very early on. Like, luckily, I was skeptical about the amount of money that I could make, which is why I didn't just like leave the job that I had as a door-to-door sales guy while selling a fitness scale your fitness business offer, like right in the very beginning. But as soon as I proved it to myself that the potential was there, I got a little bit, I just got a little bit more inspired, and then I went a little bit more in, just inching closer and closer to, I'm still not the best version of myself. I'll always be chasing the perfect version of myself. But like, when you come in and a business owner says like, call the leads, do this and that, do the things. And when you're not a seasoned closer, you come into this ecosystem, and a lot of those things feel like pulling teeth in the beginning because you've never seen the proof that any of them can come into fruition. As like, is this business, is this business owner just telling me to fucking call the leads? Because yeah, no shit, he's going to tell me to call the leads. No shit, he's going to tell me to make stories on Instagram to really be an ambassador of their brand. No shit, he's going to tell me to get a good night's sleep and do all this stuff. No shit. But when you start to do those things and you see them come into fruition, and you've now proved to yourself, oh my God, like I am now in full control of my money. Because it's so, especially for guys that have been programmed their whole life for, trading hours for dollars in a non-commission or a base plus commission ecosystem. You come in here and it's just like, I don't know about this, man. I don't know. And then you see it come into play.
yeah.
And then that's the shit that makes those valleys. That's the stuff that makes those valleys endurable. Because I know, I didn't make a fucking penny from January to March of this year. of last year, of 2022, not a fucking penny. And this month I'm at over $17,000 in paid commissions. And what is today, the 19th?
Yeah,
I'm at 17 grand this month.
Sick.
And so far. And it's just like, I know it's coming, and I feel like I'm top of the world. Like, I'm fucking cheesing right now, but I know it's coming. I know it's coming. And I remember, like, and you know, when I was trying to find that next gig at the beginning of the year, I was just like, dude, I just had just ice in my chest every day. But deep down, I knew, I was like, it's going to pay off. I just need to keep at it. But yeah, I think that's hard for a lot of sales reps, and not a lot of these sales gurus talk about that. You know
Yeah. They can't talk about that stuff.
They can't.
Yeah. That's it. The thing is, you know, I think, like, personally, you know, for me and for coaching sales, like, this was a big factor in like the decisions of like strategy and why we do things the way we do, was like, I didn't even want to compete on that dimension of like making those crazy promises and going to those extremes and stuff, because like, dude, the back ends of some of these programs are like ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they have client concierges whose whole job is to fight refunds. Like, that's how much people are refunding, and like that they have like less than 10% of their clients are getting the promised outcome. Like, that's, to me, like, I'm a big believer, if less than 10% of your clients get your promised outcome, you're scamming them. Like, that's just how it works. Like, if you're not delivering your promised outcome more frequently than not, then you're pretty much scamming people, right? Yeah. So unless you're like very clear, hey, you're going to get the promised outcome this percentage of the time, then that's not a scam. But like, if you're telling them they're going to get that outcome and then it's less than 10%, that's bullshit. And so as a result, like, it made me make the choice to say, just make realistic promises.
Yeah.
Like, don't promise them that they're going to get like a $4,000 a month job.
Yeah.
But they work online and they can work from Mexico.
Yeah.
Like, anyone could do that. Like, if you just show up and you do dials and you do enough dials, like, we can get you to the point you can have a conversation. You'll be able to book appointments, like, and you'll be able to make $4,000 a month in Mexico, and you'll be having the time of your life. Like, sweet. It's an epic thing. Like, and that's a starting point. Like, when I remember when I first was making $4,000 a month from the internet and I was in Colombia, I literally thought I was the king of the world. So like, it was that big of a transformation for me. And so I would just rather make that promise than like, you're going to make $30,000 a month in 60 days and try and compete on another dimension while you're like on their whole back end's blowing out. And yeah, they might have a big business, but it's like, dude, to deal with the problems of like that many people who are pissed at you because you didn't deliver what you said you would deliver, like, that is not anything I would ever wish on anyone.
And so the people making those claims, there's such an easier way to frame it to where it still sounds good. Instead of focusing on the money, focus on like what else it does for you. If I'm making, you know, a multi-5 figure, like, I don't care only about making a bunch of fucking money. Dude, when I was working, I was cruising Costa Rica, just dangling my feet from mangrove trees, just like taking calls, like making money in coaching sales. It was amazing. But everyone's talking about the money. Nobody's talking about like, dude, you can work remote. You can spend more time with your family. You can set your schedule. You can travel. Like, you can join these snot-nosed kids over in Bali living a VIP lifestyle for not a lot of money. I mean, that was the dream for me. And I fulfilled that dream, and I got out of my system. Now I've got 4 screens and a standing desk and a nice microphone. But yeah, man, gosh, I get goosebumps, dude. Those are some good times.
What were some of your favorite like travels especially like once you kind of got into remote sales and started like living the life? What were some of your favorite travels?
Oh my gosh, dude, like white knuckling a scooter with a girl on the back going from Canggu to Uluwatu in Bali. That was insane, dude. And just, oh man, just doing it while making money, and just thinking about like just sitting there in silence, staring at the floor, thinking like, nobody gets to do this. Like, this is crazy. I'm living somebody's honeymoon every fucking day of the week, and I'm good. And just, that's it. It's not any particular destination. It's just like, I think of it all, man. And it's just like, man, even now, like, several months ago, I took a road trip with my girlfriend. We drove from Salt Lake City to Napa, and just like, and I saw Metallica in concert in Napa.
Yeah. How epic was that? That was
Oh, dude, it was insane. And I paid
Damn.
the bouncer. I paid the bouncer a couple $100 cash to get me and Heidi, my girlfriend, into VIP. And we're just like, just pressing and, pushing our way forward to the stage of Metallica in California. And my truck was set up right up the road. And I had a workspace set up, and I was taking calls and closing deals. And we hiked Lake Tahoe on the way back, and I had to take a couple of calls on the road. And we went into the shitty little casino town in Nevada, and it was an armpit, but that was cool too. So just like making the most of that lifestyle.
Like bunch of Virginia Slims. Like,
yeah.
Like an oxygen tank and a Virginia Slim at the same time.
Yeah, it was an armpit, dude.
Yeah, that's my vibe. Like they got loose slots here is what I heard.
Yeah. So gosh, dude, I just love it. And I do love the money too. Like, and if there's anybody listening to this that's just like wondering if it's ever going to be their time, like, stop. Like, I'll see, the money I make is still nickels and dimes compared to what some of these guys are making in my industry. Like I talked to my buddy, Brady McCarty, Brady, like he's told me about some months that like, I was like, holy shit. And I go from a previous version of me would have heard that and would have thought like, fuck, like, how can I do that? Like, oh my God, I'm not getting dealt a fair hand and this and that. Like, now I'm happy when I hear that about people. Like, that's available to me. And if I want to do that, and if I continue to align my wants and my actions with that goal, your success is going to be inevitable. And I feel like a lot of these closers, I mean, you know this from building hundreds and hundreds of sales teams, dealing with a closer that gets into a new offer and comes back in 2 weeks is like, this bullshit, I quit. What else do you got for me? And you're like, bro, like you got it twisted, homie. Like, you know what I mean? So anyways.
Oh yeah, I know that for sure. Yeah.
I have those moments, dude. And like my main offer right now, like, I told him I'm going to give it 90 days. And like, I wasn't really drinking the Kool-Aid at first. I was like, are people really getting these results? This and that, and like, I had some talks with people. I remember I talked to you giving me advice about like, how do I set people's outcomes up in my life? And I've come to realize like, I am an advocate for people that want to go all in on themselves. It is not my place to say whether or not they're going to get results. It is my responsibility to tell them everything that they're going to get. And hopefully at the end of the day, I represent an organization that is going to over deliver and give them everything that they need to get the results, so that if they don't, it's their fault and nobody else's. And that's all you can ask for.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, at the end of the day, like, and I mentioned this to you, but it's like, sometimes I've invested in programs and like I didn't get a result, but it was me that didn't get the result. It wasn't the program. And sometimes I've invested in programs and I've been grateful to learn that was the thing that I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Like I've paid $2,000 to learn about opportunities and then said like, sweet, this opportunity is definitely not for me. Yeah. Right. And that $2,000 that I invested to figure that out is way cheaper than if I invested months to try and figure it out for myself, right? Yeah. I just watched like a course and I did it at 2x speed and I'm like, all right, sick. I'm definitely not doing that business.
Right.
And I'm happy. Like I'm super grateful because I just know I missed potentially a massive liability. And it's sometimes weird. Like we don't understand that those use cases exist and that like as well, like there's a lot of times like I bought programs at like fitness programs where like I'd get in, I'd get going, and then I'd fall off. But it was me. It wasn't that like
Yeah.
they can't go to the fucking gym for me. So like it was me that fell off of the fitness program.
Yeah.
And I actually got like one or two useful ideas, and the pain of my regret for not showing up as I want to actually is a really good fuel that helps become productive later, because it's like, oh, I can't do this again. And then it
Yeah.
helps like get you to that place where you actually do get your outcome.
Yeah, dude. I said this on the last podcast I was on. It's just like, I am so thankful to have so many life ambushes, because like they were fuel.
Yeah.
I never would have done that on my own accord. I mean, I'm man enough to admit that I, in the past, I did not have that level of discipline. I had to be taught a lesson. And it's just like, yeah, people want to be strong, but it's like, you in order to be strong, you gotta be smacked in the face. So I'm so thankful that I've been able to do that. But yeah, man, it's cool. This is fun, dude. It's fun talking to you again, man. It's been so
It has been
long
a long
since I
time.
feel like we've jammed out.
The so one thing I would definitely be curious to explore with you is like you came from the world of door to door. So
Yeah.
you basically were knocking on doors, roofing, solar, that
Yeah.
sort of game. And
Yeah.
that's how you got your chops. And like for me, it was timeshare. What was like, what were some of the key things that we felt like were skills or like strategies or tactics that you developed in the process of going from that belly to belly sales to
Mm.
like online remote sales?
It's uh it's one, I think only one thing is coming to mind, because nothing else matters if you don't have this one thing, and that's energy management. Like, you can know what to say, what to do, all of the best objection handling and stuff like that, but dealing with adversity, dealing with struggles, dealing with the word no, dealing with the resistance to want to tell a prospect what they want to hear, as opposed to the harsh reality, in order to get the sale. And just, it's all energy, dude. Like, the hardest part for me about door to door was time management and energy management, and I hadn't mastered those things yet. I was good at what to say. I was likable. I got people, I could get people to like me, but driving around with your door welded shut on your truck, getting sucked into like 50 fucking cat videos, that's the skill. That's the thing that you have to be able to avoid. You just have to just keep at it. And yeah, I think bringing that to this industry is really what helped me. So yeah, I think energy management, just yeah. Hopefully I didn't go on too much of a tangent there.
No, it makes sense. The getting enough rest, all that. Especially, it's weird, like when you have the ability to control your schedule and work from anywhere. You like, I don't know if you did this, but I definitely did this, where like you almost like kind of blow your load like with freedom, like when
Yeah.
you just get it, you're like, oh my god, like you like just got out of jail or something, like
Yeah.
it's got to go like on this weird bender to get it out, and then you're
Yeah.
like, oh okay, now I gotta like actually be a real person.
Yeah.
uh and so like that definitely happened to me. I was like I could do anything, and then you
Yeah.
like do a little bit too much anything, and then you're like, hey,
Yeah.
maybe you just gotta do like
Yeah.
have a system here.
Yeah, man. I tell myself, like, even now, dude, like when I have, 4 triage, I wake up at 6:30 in the morning, um, and then, within 30 minutes, I'm on my team meeting. And then 45 minutes after that, I've got, 5 minutes to get caffeinated, and then 4 15-minute triages, and then 2 45-minute closing calls, and then more triages, and then another cup of coffee. And then hoping for a break so I can go get some of the 10,000 steps per day that I promised myself that I would do. That is taxing. And sometimes you're not going to close deals that day. And that really fucking sucks. And you just have to tell yourself, like, I get to be here. I get to be here. Some poor motherfucker is folding sheets for some jerk somewhere and not getting paid anything for it compared to what I'm getting paid. So I get to be here. So people lose sight of that, makes their job way harder than it needs to be. So just tell yourself, like, you get to be here. Just be thankful. You know what I mean?
That's huge. Yeah, that's huge, dude. That's because I remember, like, I always think about this for me was like when I first got into remote sales, like I like this wasn't a thing, right? So like I was getting paid $2,000 a month on a retainer to do like basically what I was doing. And like the company grew super fast and all this stuff. And like I was only making $2,000 a month, but I thought I was like the king of the world because it was $2,000 a month that I was making in 2 hours without having to wear that shitty uniform, without having to drive an hour and pay for tolls. And I was able to like listen to whatever music I wanted to listen to, be around whoever I wanted to be around. And I didn't have a lot of money, but the freedom to me was so worth it that it didn't matter. And like that moment was just like, yes, I get to experience this. And I think a lot of people, they just do lose sight of that. They get so like hooked on the promise of I got to get to $30,000 a month in those 60 days because I was promised that blah blah blah, and then everything sucks because it's not working out my way. And it's like, you know, you got to kiss a lot of frogs too in this game. Like I try to be as realistic with everybody. Like, you know, how many opportunities did it take you before you found like the right fit for you for like a good gig?
Bro, I mean, I don't feel like I was fed to the point where I wanted to be fed until I was on coaching sales. And so I had like, see, 1, 2, 3, like 5 offers. Yeah. And some, you know, some of those were like 2 weeks and they're just like, yeah, Dan, it's not working out. Or some people like, you know, they just didn't see my potential, or like I didn't, you know, you know, they judged me before they gave me a chance. Cause I'd like to think that every single one of those offers, like some of them were just wasn't a good fit. But dude, what really sucks is like when you're trying to just get people to like you and they just tell you flat no to your face on a Zoom call and they cut you off. I remember this was tough, man. I can't remember the guy's name. They since went out of business, but Moose connected me with somebody that was just big. They were growing and they were just on their way to $1 million months. And I was so excited, dude. I was so pumped. I did research on the industry. I did research. Moose got a hold of some recorded sales calls so that I could, you know, be prepared for role play. I got on that call and this guy was just like, yep. So, you know, introduce yourself, just like, and I knew right at the way there was like this energy transfer. I was just like, this is not going to be a good call. And he asked me if I knew about certain people in the industry. And I said, no. And he cut me off. And he's just like, you know what? If you don't know anything about these guys, then it's probably just not a good fit, dude. So best of luck to you. And he just got off. And I was just like, I was crushed. And so yeah, like it takes time. People are not going to take you seriously. It's not going to work out for you. You could be a badass closer on one offer and then get into another offer and completely get your nuts kicked in.
Dude.
And that's okay. That's just a thing. That's just one of those things, man. And again, you know, talking about having faith in a process and falling in love with it, once it has its opportunity to prove itself to you that it'll come into fruition, that's another thing. It's just like, am I not good at this? Am I just not like, no, dude, like that, all that means is that the universe hasn't brought you the right fit yet. And it's just not your time. And if it's not where you want to be, that just means you're not where you want to be yet. So yeah, it sucks. And in light of what you were saying, 5 offers, but I just wanted to expand on that because there's a lot of stuff going on, you know, before.
Yeah, when you're in it, it feels like sometimes everything's against you too. Like, and that's the number I usually tell most people is like 5. 4 or 5 false starts is usually what you're going to have before you find like a good home that you can rock on for a while. And like some people might even be more, and like the goal is to just get through those as fast as possible instead of like getting all upset about, oh, why this happened to me, instead of just looking at like, okay, cool, that one's done, I'm one step closer to being on the right offer. And like there are situations where like just some people you just don't vibe with, like, and like that's I remember there's been a couple offers where like when people would listen to my calls, they'd be like, oh no, no, and then it's just like, okay, first of all, sit down and shut the fuck up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to teach me how to sell. I like literally can run laps around you. And it's like, my style is different than your style. And what you want me to do is not what I'm doing, but what I'm doing is effective. Right. And like I remember one guy I had that I was like kind of doing like appointment setting and like triaging and stuff for them. And he was like, oh yeah, he's too unprofessional, blah blah blah, and they let me go like right away because they said I was like embarrassing. But it was like, bro, like they were trying to tell me how to do these calls. Like I gave this guy a lead for it was with Groupon.
Okay.
It was like this was like a $500,000 deal. Like it was, and I had this guy like perfect, like he was perfect fit. I got all of the agreements, like dude, I like, it was like artful Jedi mind tricks, you know what I mean? Like he didn't even realize that he had already like boxed himself in so deep, right? And I set him with this guy, and it was like you just took like a girl who is ready to go and you gave her to a virgin and just let him talk right past the close. And like, I'm like, oh, it was like 20 grand commission for me. I watched just like slipping through my fingers in slow motion as this guy is just like, can't get it home. I'm like, oh no, like, oh, and they thought I was the problem. They thought I was the bad salesperson. And it's like, dude, no, you just have to have that confidence and keep pushing and get through. And like, it's good to have that expectation of like, coming into it, you're gonna have false starts. Like, don't expect your first offer to be the right one. And that's where I think a lot of people get tripped up. I was wondering something too, like, so you've had definitely a really interesting experience of like being able to be working close with me. You've probably worked closer with me than a lot of almost anybody out there. And like, you've been able to really like take a lot of the sales ideas and philosophies and strategies and all that stuff, and like put it to work. And I guess I'm curious of like, when you see stuff that's out there or versus like, because I know you're also in the other communities and stuff, like what have you felt like has always been different or like stuck with you from the time that we kind of like spent in the trenches together?
Dude, like I mentioned earlier on this phone call, like one of the things that you've done really well as a leader is just like ice water in your veins, no matter what. And just
Pippin's
like,
cold.
I don't know. Just being cold, man. And just, and like, dude, you've also like, there's been some times where I called you and I was like, bro, I need advice. Like, I need advice. I'm coming to you as a friend. And, for anybody listening, to this, like, not to overshare, but Mike fired me. And one of the things that I would really encourage you guys all to do is like, don't be afraid to be friends with your leader, even if they end up letting you go, because it's just business. And like, I didn't burn that bridge. And I'm so thankful that I had no reason to. Like, it was just business, and that's it. And so one of the things that I see with you that I don't see with enough people is people are afraid to be a little bit more intimate with the people on their team. They keep it straight business. And it's just like, they don't want to get involved. They want to let other people handle that so they can do their own thing. And that's cool. If you're running a, multi 7-8 figure business, you're not going to be able to get beers with your VA team. I get it. But like, some people avoid it on purpose because it's like, oh, I'm not friends with them. Like, it's like, all right, there's two trains of thought. In my opinion, though, I think that like, I like having that relationship with my leader because it's not going to piss me off. Like, I don't care if someone barks at me. You've barked on me. You got on my ass. You've seen through my bullshit. I'm mature enough to take it on the chin. So that's number one.
That's huge.
Yeah. It's massive, and it feels so good to still have you in my network. And like, I wouldn't be where I'm at now on this new offer if it fucking weren't for you in coaching sales. So yeah, like they just got to, they're just tightwads with everything. And like, I don't know, I felt like you were very cool. You kind of got this gangster energy about you, and you're just cool and calm. And even when shit gets hot, like, you're still cool. Did I remember when I was in Costa Rica, you called me, you're like, hey, I've got some bad news and good news. And I'm like, okay. The bad news is that the offer is dead. All right, it's done. The good news is you now have an opportunity to be the best salesperson you could ever dream of being. Are you in? And I'm like, fuck yeah, let's roll. And we might as well have been on Mars. Like, it was completely unknown. And you were just like, dude, you were just like, your energy was so good. So yeah, those are the things, bro. And thank you.
Yeah, I always like feel like that was a cool thing for you to be able to have, is to like experience proving out an offer up close and personal. Like, I feel like very few reps ever get that experience, because they always come on when the offer is proven, right? Like, yeah. And if it's unproven, usually nobody knows what the fuck's happening, so it never gets proven. So they don't get to see the like 0 to 1 moment. And like, you definitely did get to go from 0 to 1 with that. And especially like that offer started hitting really hard for a while. Yeah. And so like, it was interesting to see that journey, and like to have that experience. I feel like most people just don't get that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that's the big things. And just, seeing you grow as a leader, like, that was cool too. So yeah, not a lot of people get that. And it's because they come on an offer that's already proven. Like, I was just new and green, and like, you had just, it hadn't worked out between you and another closer. And that made me nervous, but it made me feel good because you told me exactly why it didn't work out with that person and why it was going to work this time. And you didn't hide anything. Nothing was mysterious and fucking corporate. It was all on the table. And it was just like, all right, cool. I'm going to follow this guy. And that's kind of what I like doing. Maybe one day I'll have my own thing, but I want to work with people who give my goals a run for their money, and I'll just ride their coattails off into the sunset.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I want to do.
That makes sense. Sick, man. Well, where can people connect with you if they want to go deeper, or they wanted to like connect and just maybe jam with you?
Yeah. Instagram is kind of where I hang out. My email is an absolute wasteland. So Instagram is the way to go, at Dan Lee Patrick. And I'll maybe you can drop it somewhere.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes in the description here, cool, for anyone watching it on the replays.
Yeah.
Sweet, man. Well, this has been super fun. I'm glad we got to jam. So we should do it again soon.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, man, it's remote sales is like, it's the jam. Like, once you get it and it works, like,
fucking love it, dude. The game, man. That's another thing you would always say. It's like, I just love the game. Like, I love the game. I fucking love the game. It's so good. But I've got to jump, dude. I'm 1 minute late to my triage here. So have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. And yeah, man, we'll talk soon.
All right. See you, brother.
That's it for this week's interview. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did enjoy this interview, we do one like it every single week inside of our free Facebook group called 7-Figure Agency Owners and High Ticket Coaches. So if you're an agency owner, coach, service provider, and you're really wanting to scale to 7 figures and beyond, join us inside the group. It's coachingsales.com/group. Again, coachingsales.com/group.